Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to GameClock, your new favorite sports show. I'm your host, Michael Pales, and today we're going to be talking about Week 8, looking at the highs and lows for every team in the NFL that played this past week, and looking forward into Week 9 and predicting who's going to come out on top as we look at the NFL season. So let's get into the first quarter as we're ready, set, go. On our way. 1 second as I get everything situated. Let's start the clock. 1 second. There it is. Let's start the clock and let's get this thing rolling. Now the first week of the NFL, first game of this NFL week was the Vikings versus the Chargers. And I predicted that the Chargers were going to come out and they were going to have a bounce back win after a couple of tough losses. And they had more than a bounce-back win. They came out and put 37 points on the Minnesota Vikings. And the Minnesota Vikings were in disarray. They were in a point where they could not figure out what was going on. They were struggling to they were trying to run the ball and struggling, and they couldn't get the pass game going because they had a backup quarterback, Carson Wentz, who was also injured. Carson Wentz should not have played. There was a play where he threw the ball, batted it down because it got batted up, and he went down and he was grabbing at his arm. He should not have re-entered the game. He was injured. They should have just put in the backup. Also, J.J. McCarthy looked healthy on the sideline. There were a couple of moments where he looked healthy. Obviously, we don't know what's going on with them, but still is a little worrisome when you're seeing your team that's supposed to be a very good offensive team put up 10 points. Now, on the Chargers end, Chargers had a fantastic game. The only reason that Justin Herbert didn't go for more yardage was because Harbaugh said, "Okay, let's Taylor Black. Let's just win this game." I think that if truly Harbaugh had let him just go, yeah, go do you. I think he could have put up 350, maybe even 400 yards of passing in this game against the Vikings because it was a tough showing from this Vikings defense. Moving on to the first games of the noon slot. We had the Dolphins playing the Falcons. Now, a lot of people take a look at this game and are probably like, oh my gosh, the Dolphins are back? After an atrocious week against the Browns where they put up 6 points and Tua had 3 picks. Tua played well, but the Falcons didn't have a very good offense. The Falcons were playing their backups. They didn't have Drake London. They didn't have Michael Penix. They had Kirk Cousins starting. And so offensively, the Falcons couldn't really produce. Now, if you're questioning, how did this Dolphins team? Any given Sunday. Any given Sunday, a team can pop off and go for 34 points against an opponent that is superior. And we'll talk more about any given Sunday just a little bit shortly. But understand that this Dolphins team, though, yes, great win, they got to take them when they get them because there is probably not going to be another one. And my question for them is, I don't think Tua is the answer. Tua has been playing at a very low level, worse than a lot of other quarterbacks in the league. And if you're the Dolphins, you're going to start reevaluating unless you can knock off a bunch of wins, bang, 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 bang. So this is make or break now. They're on the turning point. They just got a good win against the Falcons. The question is, can they carry it further? Can they take that and carry it further beyond what they just did in this week? Next is Bears versus the Ravens. The Ravens came out and looked like a competent football team. I'm trying to remember. Tyler Huntley was the quarterback for the Ravens, and the Ravens ended up winning this game against the Bears. And looking at it, it's one of those moments where you're like, the Bears are still the Bears at times. Understand that Caleb Williams threw for 246 yards about, and so it was still a decent offensive game, but the defense of the Ravens kind of showed up and was like, we're actually going to be a competent football team. The Ravens needed this win. The Ravens if they had lost this game, they probably would have been in a really, really tough spot of being able to recover this season not halfway through the season. Next week's halfway through the season. But when you look at it, the Ravens needed this win because if they want any chance of skirting into the playoffs when Lamar comes back, they needed this win, and Tyler Huntley got it to them. I don't know why they were ever starting Cooper Rush. Tyler Huntley plays a lot better in the playbook that they have out there in Baltimore. So, yeah, this game went very well for the Ravens. The Bears struggled a bit, but yeah. So, Ravens going to be back on the up and up. The Bears continue to be a very mediocre team at times. They show flashes of being a very good team up north. And then there's times where they show out and they're like, how is this team competing for the NFC North? So, next, the Jets get their first win of the season behind Justin Fields. Justin Fields did not get benched due to an injury from Tyrod Taylor. Justin Fields has not been playing very well this season, and he had a much better game this game. And this game, and this win, is so pivotal because Aaron Glenn wants to win. Aaron Glenn, who's their head coach, who's a brand new head coach, wants to win. And I think this win is going to help carry him and hopefully give him another year so he actually has a chance to build a team. You can't build a team in a year. Not everyone gets the Ben Johnson treatment where you're handed a very proficient team right away and being like, here, go win. Most teams are going to be rebuilds. They're going to be in the mud, and that's what the Jets are right now, is they're in the mud. They got their first win against the Bengals. From the Bengals' perspective, you gave up a 14-point lead. It was 38-24, and somehow you end up losing to the Jets. Joe Flacco is still decent. Let me look at the statistics. Joe Flacco put up 223, 2 touchdowns. Samaje Perine had a good rushing game. Chase Brown also had had a touchdown. Jamar Chase played well. But truly, the Jets just pulled this out. It was a very impressive. Any given Sunday, any team can win in the NFL. That's one of the reasons why I love the NFL so much. Is these guys are all professionals. They all play at the same level. Sure, some teams are better than others, but any given Sunday, a team can win. And that's what we saw with the Jets finally getting their first win of the season. They are now 1-7. It's an improvement, guys. Take what you can get. Next, the Bills are back. They are back like they never left. They just needed the bye week. I believe Sean McDermott is 10-0 after bye weeks. I was listening to the game, and they said some crazy statistic like after every bye week, Sean McDermott has not lost a game in his career. And he won this game again after a bye week. There is something about his ability to plan that extra week to succeed. So, Bills came out and just dominated the Panthers. James Cook had a career day. He had one of his best rushing days of his career. And that's what you love to see as a Bills fan, is you're able to pop back up. And the Panthers have not been the best team. They've not been the worst team, but they looked like one of the worst teams in the NFL this week against the Bills. So Bills bounce back, look like one of the top teams in the NFL. Once again, they're back at the top of the mountain, and the Panthers slipped a little further down. 49ers-Texans. This game surprised me. I will be honest. This game was an unexpected outcome. I thought that with how the Houston Texans had been playing throughout this season, that they were going to struggle in this game against the 49ers. I had been praising the Robert Saleh-led defense and been like, he is a great coordinator. They held teams that have been playing really well to low scores. And then the Texans, who have been a team that has been struggling offensively, finally get going and are able to do that. And they're without Nico Collins. They're without one of CJ Stroud's primary targets, and they put 25 points on the 49ers. So, looking at it from a all-encompassing thing, you look at it and you're like, what is going on with the Niners? It's injuries, because they don't have Brock Purdy. They don't have their starting quarterback. Mac Jones has been playing well, but he's not Brock Purdy. That's the thing, is that you pay a guy $250 million, you want him playing, and he's been hurt. And so, George Kittle had somewhat of a bounce-back day. I believe he did get a touchdown catch on National Tight Ends Day. That's the other thing I needed to talk about. It was National Tight Ends Day this past Sunday. This was a holiday that got created by George Kittle, and he just started telling people that it was National Tight Ends Day, and then it rolled into that. And I will talk more about how somebody truly won Tight End of the Day on National Tight End Day when I get to the Packers game. But great to see George Kittle get a touchdown on National Tight End Day. One of 2 touchdowns for the Niners. But looking at it from a sense of moving ahead, right now, it's really a middle spot between whether the Niners are going to be able to make a push to win the West or whether it's going to fall to the Seahawks or the Rams. I think if you get a healthy Brock Purdy and you start to see a little bit more production, they might be able to eke out the NFC West. But the Rams and Seahawks have looked exceptional this season. Okay, we got 30 seconds left in the first quarter. I'm still going to start talking about this and then I'll carry on. Patriots. Browns scored 13 points on the Patriots. The Patriots put up 32. I sound like a Drake May fanboy, and I promise I'm not. I need to make it clear. I am not a Patriots fan. I grew up not a Patriots fan. I grew up not liking the Patriots. And Drake May is just that good. Okay, 1 second. We're going to reset the timer because the timer just went off, and we're into the second quarter. Drake May is that guy, and I don't like just being the most, like, he is the best quarterback in the NFL, but he is playing at an MVP caliber, like, at an MVP level. He right now is top 5 in MVP talks. Like, understand that Drake May is taking that second-year jump that people wanted to see from Jaden Daniels, from Caleb Williams, from Bo Nix, from J.J. McCarthy, all of these guys who are like, hey, we want to see what they can do in their second year. And Drake May said, so second-year leap, that's my thing. And he took it, and he kept it, and he ran with it. Because Jaden Daniels has been hurt. Caleb Williams has played good, but not the jump you want to see. Bo Nix has played well, but not the jump that you necessarily wanted to see. Obviously, Bo Nix had one of the better seasons, and so he's kind of stayed pretty consistent. But looking at it, you're like, okay, Bo Nix has played well. He obviously, I'm going to talk more about that later. But when you look at it, Drake May is just playing at a different level. Then getting to the Browns. The Browns' future is not Dylan Gabriel. I think Quinshon Judkins is still a great player. I think Harold Fannin is a great tight end. But I don't know if Dylan Gabriel is their future. And that is concerning from the Browns' perspective. Also out of the Browns camp is that they're demanding a second-round pick for Shedeur Sanders. They have made it clear, the coaches have made it clear they do not want to play Shedeur Sanders. Kevin Stefanski has made it clear that he does not want to play Shedeur Sanders. Shedeur needs to get out, but they're demanding a 5th-round pick that has not played a single snap of football for a 2nd-round pick. There's a lot of question marks surrounding the Browns quarterback situation, but I don't think Dylan Gabriel is a solution. He is a Band-Aid on a bullet hole right now. He is playing better than Flacco was, but he is not playing good enough to where I think he'll be a starter 2-3 years down the line. Giants-Eagles. We're going to take a moment of silence real fast. That moment of silence was for Cam Skattebo. Cam Skattebo has been one of the most exciting and electric players in the NFL this season. And he went down with an ankle injury. He's going to be out for the season due to surgery. And you could see the emotion from his teammates. That's the kind of guy that a team wants. A guy that your guys will rally behind, whether their reaction is the way it was. Jackson Dart was distraught after they lost Cam Skattebo. I think that they could have had a shot at this game. Obviously, the Eagles were jumped out really fast to a very successful point. But Cam Skattebo probably would have been the spark that they needed. But they lose him in a freak play, and that's the nature of football. And it's really sad to see because the Giants fans and Giants faithful are very sad about the nature of Cam getting injured. So, but with the Eagles side, the Eagles look like the best team in football. Saquon Barkley is back. Saquon Barkley broke in like one of the first or second plays. He had 150 yards rushing on 14 carries. One of his first plays was a 65-yard rushing touchdown. I have Saquon Barkley in my fantasy team. I was very excited when Saquon Barkley scored a 65-yard touchdown. Saquon Barkley looked great. The Eagles looked like a very good team. Again, against the Giants, take it with a grain of salt, especially after they lost Skattebo. But Eagles looked good. Eagles are back kind of in argument with the top team in the NFC. They're probably a top 3, at least top 5 team in the NFC right now. So, good to see the Eagles bouncing back. Prayers go out to Cam Skattebo and his ankle. Just pray that the Lord be with him in surgery. May God guide their hands, and just pray for a speedy recovery for Cam Scatterbo. Saints, Buccaneers. The Saints played terribly. Not unexpected. The Saints are not a very good team. They're a team that I could very well see continuing on this downward trend. And Spencer Rattler, the rope finally ran out. Tyler Shaw is going to be the one starting for the Saints this upcoming week. He was named the starter just today. Spencer Rattler out, Tyler Shaw in. It's a new era in New Orleans, and we'll see how it goes. Buccaneers really wasn't a huge game. Baker didn't look too good. Sean Tucker was the leading rusher. Tez Johnson was the leading receiver. It really wasn't a huge game for the Buccaneers, but it was a win. A win is a win. In the NFL, you take what you can get. Plain and simple. Okay, now moving on to the Titans-Colts. The Colts are the best team in football. No one thought the Colts were going to be this good, and then they are this good. I am genuinely not joking when I say that this is the most realistically, if he stays healthy and he keeps playing at the level he is, we could see an MVP running back again. First time since Adrian Peterson in 2012. Obviously, quarterback bias is there, and there's guys where they're like, oh, he was obviously more valuable. If the Colts win the AFC and are the best team in the AFC, and Jonathan Taylor was the engine for that, it's going to be really hard to argue that anyone else gets it. But quarterback bias is a thing. But Jonathan Taylor had a great game. 153 yards, 2 touchdowns. Daniel Jones had 3 touchdowns and 272 passing yards. Cam Ward, an all-right game. Tajay Spears. It was a rough game for the Titans. The Titans are one of those teams where it's just like, hey, they just got to get through this season. Just survive and get through this season. The Colts. Michael Pittman had an insane one-handed catch touchdown. But the Colts are continuing to carry on their momentum. The Colts are going to continue to be one of the best teams in the NFL. Plain and simple, I think it's a Colts world, and we're just living in it at this point in time. Broncos, Cowboys. If you are a fantasy owner and you see your team playing the Cowboys, start those players. The Cowboys have one of the worst defenses in the NFL, but one of the most electric offenses in the NFL. Obviously, this week was a little bit different. They were a little less successful in this week. Dak, 2 interceptions, no passing touchdowns, not what you want to see. Javonte Williams, extremely efficient when it comes to the touchdowns. 13 carries, 41 yards, and 2 touchdowns. I think not the sole touchdown quarter, but not exactly what you want to see out of a team that is very expensive. Bo Nix, 4 touchdowns, an interception. J.K. Dobbins had 111 rushing yards. Troy Franklin had 2 touchdowns. The Broncos looked electric. They have scored so many points in the past 2 weeks. I think it's something like, what would that be? Math. 83 points in the past 2 weeks. They are playing out of their minds offensively. They also have played 2 not the best defenses, but regardless, what I will say is that the Broncos look like they have a very strong reason to win the AFC West and beat out the Chiefs. But I'll get to the Chiefs in a second because they had a good game. Packers, Steelers. We have to shout out the man, the myth, the legend, Tucker Kraft, with 2 touchdowns and 143 receiving yards. He won National Tight Ends Day. Plain and simple. What I will say about the game between the Packers and the Steelers. The Packers somehow forced the Steelers to have a silent count in their own stadium. And for those of you who don't know what silent count is essentially when a team decides, hey, it is too loud in here. We have to not have the classic like red 80. That kind of thing doesn't get said in a silent count. It's silent, the center looks, there's some form of signal, and then they snap the ball. The Steelers had to do that at home. Steelers fans did not show up for their team, and they paid for it. There were quite a few penalties that were missed. I will say there were some bad calls by the referees, but Packers Nation showed up. The Cheeseheads helped them win this game 35-25. The Packers beat Aaron Rodgers. Commanders Chiefs. Commanders looked abysmal. The Commanders really struggle when they don't have Jaden Daniels. Jaden Daniels is a very good quarterback, and he is the engine that helps run that offense. And you saw that Marcus Mariota cannot do that. Marcus Mariota is well in his years when it comes to the NFL. I believe this is his 11th or 12th year in the NFL. The Commanders need to just slow the bleeding. They need a chance. And the Chiefs, once again, looked like a top team in the NFL. 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. The interceptions weren't great by Mahomes, but the Chiefs are looking very good. And Mahomes is looking like an MVP candidate. And now, we're going to be taking a look at this upcoming week as I get the clock ready. 1 second, I'm going to take a water break, and then we will get into the next week. Okay, hydrated, let's ready it up and let's go. Third quarter, week 9. Let's talk about it. Ravens-Dolphins. Ravens are going to Hard Rock on Thursday Night Football. This game is going to be a bloodbath. The question still remains, is Lamar going to play? If Lamar doesn't play, I think it's going to be a really back and forth game. Could be really interesting, fun matchup to see. Because you have two teams that are on the up and up. They finally got their wins after a long losing streak, and they're finally they're in their bounce back. If Lamar plays, I have the Ravens all day. If Lamar's not playing, this is a very 50-50 game, and I'm gonna say I still say the Ravens are gonna win this game. The Ravens are the team that looks better. They had a better defensive game, in my opinion, against a better offense in last week. If that carries over and that momentum carries over after the short week, really quick turnaround, I see the Ravens winning this matchup against the Dolphins. 49ers versus the Giants. 49ers going to MetLife Stadium to play the Giants in New York at noon on November 2nd. This is where I think the Giants are going to start to falter. They lost their spark plug. Tyrod Tracy is still coming back after his shoulder injury. So for you fantasy owners that have had Cam Scatterbo and you're like, what do I do next? Just pick back up Tyrone Tracy. If somebody doesn't have him in your league, go pick him up. He's probably going to get not the same amount of volume as Cam Scatterbo, but he's still a starting running back in the NFL. I think the 49ers are going to bounce back after a tough loss against the Texans. I think that they didn't lose anyone major in that game, and so from that perspective, I think that they're coming in with a little bit of a healthier team. They still got Christian McCaffrey, still have George Kittle. The question still remains, is Brock going to play? Because if you don't know if your starting quarterback's going to play, how can you know if you're going to win the game? That's the real feeling. It's like, I can't say that I'm like, yes, the 49ers are going to win, because I don't know if Brock Purdy is going to be the guy taking the snap. If he is, Niners all day. If not, I still say Niners, but Mac Jones, McCorkle Jones, does not necessarily sit as well with me. Chargers, Titans. The Chargers are just going to do the same thing they did against the Vikings. Like, the Chargers are a team that is hot right now. They just scored 37 points on a Vikings team that is better than the Titans. The Titans have only won one game, and it was because of a career collapse from the Arizona Cardinals. From a travesty of a game. One of the worst collapses I've seen in recent memory. The Titans' only win have come from a collapse. Unless the Chargers collapse, which is probably not going to be the case. We're going to see a Chargers win. Bolts are going to win. It's going to be a pretty clear win. And I think looking at it, biggest question marks for me are going to be, okay, how does the protection look? And then how does Cam Ward play against a pretty tough Chargers secondary? Those are the things I look out for, but I feel this game's probably going to sit pretty heavily with the Chargers. Vikings-Lions, a in-conference matchup. JJ McCarthy needs to play this game. If JJ McCarthy's not healthy, Carson Wentz is out for the season. You cannot have that third stringer starting. I can't even remember his name. That's how deep it was. But, one second. He had like 13 passing yards against the Chargers last week. Let me double check what his name was. Passing. Max Brosmer. Yeah, they're not going to win the game against the Lions with Max Brosmer. So, Lions are going to win this game. I think if they have JJ McCarthy, you almost don't want to play JJ McCarthy. You almost want to wait a week and let Max Brosmer just take all of the bludgeoning that's going to happen from Aiden Hutchinson and this Lions defense, because this Lions defense is one of the best in the NFL. And if I'm the Vikings, I want to start JJ McCarthy because you want to still have a shot at the season, but I don't know if you want to put your rookie quarterback out to the slaughter. So I picked Lions in this matchup. Their defense is just significantly better, and they're going to be able to shut out the Vikings team. The biggest question for me is who's going to be behind this under center for the Vikings. Falcons-Patriots. The Falcons have, if Michael Penix is still hurt, it's Patriots all day. I don't have any doubt. I think the Patriots are still going to win this game, regardless of who's healthy, because the Patriots have been playing at a very high level. They currently lead the AFC East over the Bills. I think the Bills are a better team, but they had their number in one game. And so, looking at it, the Falcons are going to lose this game unless Michael Penix comes back and Bijan goes for 170 yards like he did with the Bills. This offense only really succeeds if Bijan is the engine, is the spark plug, is the one that gets the team going. They need to get Bijan going. If they don't, they're going to lose, and the Patriots are going to make a fool of them and score another 30-point game like they did this past week. So, I have the Patriots winning this game. The Falcons, if I'm the Falcons head coach, if I'm Raheem Morris, and I'm like, yeah, we need to win this game. What do? Give the ball to Bijan Robinson, the Arizona product that is one of the best running backs in the game. He's one of the top 5 running backs, and they did not use him as well as they should have. And if he goes off and has a good game, they're going to win. Colts-Steelers. Colts win. I have no reason to believe that any other team against the Colts could beat them. There's only a couple teams that I'm like, they could give them a run for their money. That's the Eagles, that's the Rams, which is the team that beat them, the Chiefs, and maybe the Bills. If I didn't already say the Bills. Really, there's only 3 or 4 teams that I think have a chance at beating the Colts. Like, realistically. Those are really the only teams that I could see realistically beating the Colts. And the Steelers are not that. The Steelers just got mollywopped. Oh, the Packers. They got mollywopped by the Packers last week. And unless Aaron Rodgers has a bounce back week and you just see a completely different defense, because the defense didn't play well. The Steelers have stood themselves on, we have one of the best defenses in the league every year. That's not what I saw on this past Sunday. So if I'm them, they need to figure out how to shut down the run and shut down tight ends. Because Tyler, you best believe Daniel Jones is going to hit Tyler Warren and do the exact same thing that Tucker Kraft did against the Packers. Broncos, Texans. Broncos win this game. I think both teams are coming off of a hot win. I think that it's a big deal, obviously, for the both of them. They both came off of big wins. Bo Nix is playing at a very high level. 4 touchdowns, 1 interception last week. CJ Stroud was playing well. I don't remember how well. Let me double check. 318 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception. Obviously, 2 touchdowns is great, but it's not 4 touchdowns. The Broncos have been playing at a very high level. And I think what we're going to see is the Broncos carry this over. The Broncos are looking nearly untouchable out west. And the Texans have looked extremely fallible. They have looked like a team that at times will give up a lot of points and will really struggle in defense. And then there will be games where they show up and they hold a team like the Niners to 10 points. Or 14, 16 points. Something like that. what we are going to see from the Texans is they're going to struggle to shut down this offense of the Broncos, and the Broncos are going to come out and are going to stomp them. I think it's going to be a 30-point win by the Broncos. I think the Broncos are playing at an offensive level that just right now in the league, outside of like the Colts and the Packers and a couple of other teams, the Bills, like there's really, the Broncos right now are playing as a top 5 offense. I can't look at this and see, oh, there's clearly 5 teams I would prefer over the Broncos when it comes to their offense. So offensively, the Broncos are going to show out. From the Texans, what do I want to see if they do lose? I want to see a strong game from CJ Stroud. Let it be a shootout. You're going to be going against a very, very good defense in the Broncos. Broncos have one of the top secondaries. If he can show that he can pass the ball well, put it in the right spots, it's going to be obviously, you don't want to lose, but you will walk out with the loss being like, okay, I feel all right. I feel better about that loss than I would have if we had just absolutely not succeeded whatsoever. If we had just crapped the bed. Plain and simple, if I'm the Texans, I want to see some form of offensive success against this strong Broncos defense. And now we have 7 more games to get through in quarter number 4. Put the 4s up. Let us go. Also, shout out Myzik. He's one of my 7th grade football players. Saw that he's in the chat. Just wanted to shout him out. Okay, Bears-Bengals. The Battle of the Bears. Nope, that's Tigers. Never mind. The Battle of the Animals. I can't believe I just called a Bengal a bear. Okay, well, getting into it. This is going to be a fun offensive match. This is going to be a fun offensive matchup. Bears are coming off of, obviously, a less successful game. But you're also playing the Cincinnati Bengals defense. Whenever you play the Cincinnati Bengals defense, if you do not score more than like 20 points, you did something wrong. You did something very wrong. Because the Bengals defense is not good. It's barbecue chicken. It is very clearly going to be an offensive slug out unless the Bears come out and say, we're going to shut the Bengals down. But the Bengals offense played extremely well. They put up 38 points on the Jets. A lot of that game cannot be held against the offense. That game needs to be held a lot against the defense of the Bengals. But if I'm them, I'm like, okay, Joe Flacco, let's go. Let's go, Joe. And let's see some more Jamar Chase production. Let's see some more Chase Brown production. Let's see some touchdowns from Samaje Perine. Like, let's see some good plays by this Bengals offense. If I'm the Bengals, I'm going into this being like, we need to have a shootout or we are going to lose this game. Because they best believe that defense that they are looking at across the bench is not going to stop this Bears offense with Ben Johnson and Caleb Williams. So, I believe that the Bears are going to win this game. I think the Bears have a better defense and their offense is comparable with this Bengals team. So, that's where I stand. The Bears are going to win this game against the Bengals. Panthers, Packers. The Packers are going to win this game. Like, there are some games where you're like, I want to see how both teams can show up and play. And this one is one where I'm like, any given Sunday, yes. And the Packers just had a 35-point win against a team that is currently leading the AFC North. The Panthers are not that. The Panthers currently have a 4-4 record. They are a very mediocre team. They are literally the definition of mid. And when you have a team that is mid going against a team that is one of the top in the NFC, not even just one of, is the top team in the NFC based on record, you're going to go with the team with the better record. So, I say Packers are going to win this game against the Panthers. What I want to see from the Panthers in this loss, I want to see a big game from Tedero McMillan. T-Mac has not had a huge, blow-up, crazy game like a Mecca Mbuka with 163 receiving yards. What Tedero McMillan needs to do is show that he was worth being the first wide receiver off the board. I want to see a big game from him against the Packers. I don't think that the Packers secondary has struggled at times against bigger wide receivers. I want to see that from the Panthers, I want to see a big game. George Pickens was able to kind of match the energy against the Packers. I want to see Tedder McMillan have success like that. That's what I want to see from the Panthers. Because if you lose to the Packers, you want to see start seeing some flashes from your young guys. Bryce Young, if he's healthy, this game's going to be much better. But also, if Andy Dalton's the one throwing the ball, Panthers, I'm sorry, you guys lost, plain and simple. Saints-Rams. The Rams are going to win this game. My big thing is, how close can the Saints make it? Tyler Show, I think it's Tyler Show. Sorry. Tyler Show is new. He's never played a snap of NFL football. And putting him out there against one of those top defenses out in the NFC, in the LA Rams, is kind of terrifying. But what I will say is that there's no film on Tyler Show. There's no film when it comes to how he runs with Kellen Mond's run offense. And so that's what I will say is I think what I expect from the Saints is let's go out there, let's do some crazy stuff, and let's try to get a win against a very, very good team. The Rams are going to win this game. I don't see a world in which they don't. Stafford's been playing at an extremely high level. So Rams win this game if I'm a betting man. Jaguars-Raiders. Jags win this game. The Jags are coming off of really are on a slide right now, and they got to be looking at their schedule being like, thank goodness, we're against the Raiders. The Raiders are one of the bottom 4 teams in the NFL, if not the bottom worst team in the NFL. They are not a very good team. They really struggle. Geno Smith has not been very good, and I think that what you'd like to see is, hey, Ashton Denty have a good game. Brock Bowers have a good game. That could happen against the Jaguars because the Jaguars' defense is not shown to be the best against that. But realistically, it's going to be a Jaguars win here in Las Vegas. And yeah, I have nothing more to say. What I would love to see from the Jaguars is another touchdown from Travis Hunter. Travis Hunter has not had a touchdown. He obviously got his first NFL touchdown in London. Want to get one on American soil against the Raiders in Las Vegas. The Raiders just stop the bleeding, put on the tourniquet. They gotta get something going. They gotta show Ashton Genty go do cool things because this team is not built to succeed right now. Bills Chiefs. I'm gonna come back to that game because that game is gonna be so much fun. Seahawks Commanders. If Jaden Daniels is healthy, it's more of a 50-50. If it's still Marcus Mariota, Seahawks win this game. Seahawks are a very good defense, very good offense. Sam Darnold is playing at a high level. Where I rest is Seahawks are going to beat the Commanders if Jaden Daniels doesn't play. If Jaden Daniels does play, I still think the Seahawks win, but it's going to be a much closer game. It'll be a much more back and forth game. Cardinals Cowboys. Okay. Understand, you guys are going to hear me and you're going to think you are out of your mind. And I will explain why. I think the Cardinals win this game. The Cardinals have been within one score of every team they've played. And the only reason they've really struggled has been giving up fourth quarter leads. And they were able to hang their own with the Packers and were not able to kind of close it out. And regardless of who's starting, whether it's Kyler Murray or Jacoby Brissett, the Cowboys defense has been playing abysmally, has not been able to hold teams to defenses. They're coming off a tough loss. The Cardinals are coming off of a bye. I think that this Cardinals team gets their first win since week 2 against the Cowboys. The Cowboys, for some reason, always seem to lose to the Cardinals every year. It doesn't make sense, but for some reason, the Cowboys tend to lose to the Cardinals. And so Monday Night Football, Cardinals win this one against the Cowboys. Now, Bills Chiefs. The Chiefs are playing in Buffalo at Highmark Stadium. This game is going to be cinema. You think of games like 28-3. You think of games like the Rams-Chiefs game that was like 54-51. I think that's what you see in this game. I think that these defenses are not going to play well. I think we're going to see one of the most fun games of the season. in a shootout. And for some reason, it's a primetime game, but it's an afternoon game. This should be Sunday Night Football. The Chiefs are going to come out. You're seeing Mahomes playing well. You have Josh Allen, who just came off of a big win, 40 points against the Panthers, which isn't a huge deal, but still, good job. James Cook with a record game. You have the Kansas City Chiefs coming off of a win, back with Rashee Rice. He just came back, and he was like, oh yeah, I'm back. I'm cool. Also, ESPN, quick side tangent. ESPN, stop showing graphics with guys' criminal charges. Why are we talking about that? Say they had off-field problems. We don't need to be putting them on blast about what they got arrested for or had issues with. Okay, back to this. If I'm predicting, it's a home game for the Buffalo Bills. And Josh Allen can be very good at home against the Kansas City Chiefs. My prediction for this game that could really determine and very well could be a rematch come playoff time. I think the Buffalo Bills beat the Kansas City Chiefs in Buffalo. I don't think that there's a reason not to go for the Buffalo Bills. They have the hot hand, and obviously the Kansas City Chiefs are coming off of a really long win streak. But if I'm putting my money, need to make a decision, I'm taking the Buffalo Bills. And that is going to be GameClock, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for watching. It's been an absolute pleasure to spend the night with you and be able to hear what I have to say in this game. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been GameClock, your new favorite sports show. Good evening and good night.